So there's this conversation between Sandy Sigal and Tom McGee, and Sandy Sigal is the CEO of NewMark Merrill, which owns about 100 shopping centers, or more than 100, over in the state of California. Pretty nice properties. He's a really interesting guy because I call him like the Doogie Howser of the commercial real estate industry, but for technology. He started off in technology in his mid-teens, like 14 years old, and made enough money to invest in real estate by his early 20s, and the rest is history. He also invests directly in a lot of technology just because he understands that space so well. He's talking to Tom McGee, who is the CEO of ICSC, International Council of Shopping Centers. That is the trade organization that is in charge of the industry that I'm in, which is the retail shopping center industry. Uh, a lot of great takeaways. I hope you enjoy. Let me know. At the ICSC track, you have something called the CEO's Perspective, Technology and Retail Real Estate with Tom McGee and Sandy Sigal. So Tom McGee is CEO of ICSC. Sandy Sigal is CEO of NewMark Merrill, which is a landlord in California. A little bit of story on Sandy. He was the subject, or he was getting interviewed by Tom, is that in his early days, he had, I guess, tech roots pretty early. He was programming at age 12, and he's not, like at age 12, he said, just to date himself, that was before IBM's personal computer and before the floppy disk. So must have been a while ago. He said that his first projects included accounting departments for real estate companies using VisiCalc, which again, I've never heard of VisiCalc, but he said, look, VisiCalc was like before Lotus 123. It was before, I don't know, it's certainly before Excel. It was the first spreadsheet, VisiCalc. So that was his first project in real estate, helping those accounting departments. And by age 15, he was already making a lot of money in tech. So this guy was kind of like a prodigy. And he got his first big break from a gentleman named Bob Miller, who ran an Los Angeles-based home builder. And the question was, why retail? His quote was that every day when you go to a shopping center, you see how the customer and community interacts with the real estate. You don't see that with apartments or industrial. Those were my places, the places that my friends went to. When I look back at my life, those were the places I remembered. And that's why he likes retail and why it's made such an impression. He has a portfolio of over 100 shopping centers. I mean, Sagla has a portfolio of 25, so that he's, and I think his are a little bit nicer than ours, so he's got a pretty big portfolio. And he also said that for retail, despite the pandemic, traffic at the shopping centers are now higher than before the pandemic. So not only did e-commerce not kill retail, and not only did, and he's in California, as I remind you, like lockdowns and forced store closures not kill retail, it's back even stronger today than it was in 2019. Data as an asset. So he says that retail throws off a massive amount of data, foot traffic, points of order, like your customer journey, where they started, where they went to afterwards, how loyal they were to your property or any property. And he says tech enables real insights on the customer journey. Sigal was one of Placer AI's first customers, or I think the first customer, and he mentioned that they originally focused on casinos, and he brought them into the commercial real estate side, the shopping center side. He invested in that company. He shared that. I think it's pretty public, and he invested it all the way up. So Placer AI, if you don't know what they do, there's another video on my channel that talks about them and explains what they do, but they are a unicorn of a technology firm. So look up one of my other videos and give me another view, because my channel needs the help. I appreciate it. And what's interesting is that he invested in the company, and our commercial real estate industry is kind of like a dinosaur when it comes to technology, and we don't embrace new stuff. We're kind of not embracing change. And he actually shared his booth with Placer AI at the ICSC Vegas. And if you don't know what ICSC Vegas is, I do have another video on that on my channel. And it's crazy because he did that for 2 years, and like they didn't get much traction, even though it was an amazing product. And but eventually they got, once people really figured out how to use it, it got a lot of traction. So adoption was slow at first, and like very few signups the first 2 years. We're talking about technology in action. So he talked about smart cameras for both security and mobility analytics. So he would validate the placer data with actual visual data from the cameras. So I think he's invested in like 50 different technology platforms he mentioned, and they all kind of work together at some point. And the customer sentiment analysis. So that's another technology in action, and he's invested in something called merchant centric, and that's AI that scrapes online reviews and just gives you a really good sense of what's your customer sentiment for the area, for your shopping center, etc. Uh, then he talks about visualization apps to preview how renovations will look. So I think that's maybe, like a simple version of it is you upload your picture of a shopping center in ChatGPT or Gemini, and you give it some pretty good prompting to make changes to it visually using AI. And that's much faster and much cheaper than sending it out to an architect. He suggested that commercial real estate may need to add a R&D line item. Like very few, it's almost unheard of for real estate companies to have research and development line items. But he said that, look, it might be justified in the long term to make that innovation investment. His philosophy on leadership and community. The quote is that shopping centers have a unique ability to change how people feel about their neighborhoods. And I agree with that. I think that if you take a shopping center that just has like an awful tenant mix, and I mean, just no offense if you're actually the operator of this business, but if it's a more upscale family area with like private schools or something like that, and the shopping center has a tattoo parlor and a vape store and I don't know, just something else that isn't typically seen in your Class A markets, it just kind of brings down the neighborhood a little bit. And if you were to write that tenant mix and just have it match the neighborhood some more, or kind of take it to where you think it should go, it can actually do that. So, like a perfect example is Publix. I mean, I remember when I lived in downtown Miami before it was cool. Like this was like 25 years ago, and the closest Publix was like 7 miles away. And when Publix finally opened there, it's like, hey, the neighborhood changed. I mean, it like literally changed around the Publix being there, because otherwise it was like really not great supermarket options. And I've seen it firsthand. Uh, on the same topic of his philosophy of leadership and community, is that he, on his social media, they launched something called the American Dream series, where he interviews with local merchants on what their stores mean to them and to their communities. And the quote within that is that we have something called American Dream series, which interviews the local merchants and finds out who they are, what the store means to their lives, and how they are making their communities better. I think that's awesome. And again, that kind of from a more local perspective, but just shows you how retail can really shape communities. His quote on leadership is that the role of the leader is to inspire your team and make sure that they have a clear vision to help them reach the point beyond where they thought they could go. And that is, I think I agree with that, and I think that is a good way of looking at leadership. On technology and the future. So the quote is, this is a good one. So the quote is, I grew up in the age before spreadsheets. You would have thought spreadsheets would have made all those people with the 10 number keys go out of work. 10 number keys is like a calculator. Obviously that didn't happen. It created like more work. I mean, there's just spreadsheets coming out my ears sometimes, right? And you can probably apply that to, like, people say ChatGPT is going to put, I don't know, analysts out of work. It might create even more analysts. Who knows? Autonomous vehicles will reshape real estate economics, is what they talked about. It's going to lower transportation costs, which will lead into some main locations lose their what he calls proximity advantage. At the same time, new development land will open up. So what does he mean by that? Autonomous vehicles reshapes the real estate economics, lowers transportation costs. So, for example, let's just take as an example, like autonomous vehicles are everywhere. We're 20 years into the future. You don't really need to own a car because there's just, you can just hail a Waymo with no driver and you can get from here to the airport for $2 or $5 because it's electric and who knows, it's subsidized, who knows, right? Uh, so if it doesn't take you any, it doesn't cost you more than $5 to get anywhere in the county or maybe even within 50 miles, right? How does that change real estate values? Because what he talks about, the proximity bonus, is that for a long time, like this is very evident in New York, is that the closer you are to that subway station or the closer you are for convenience sake, so meaning that, like, let's say the person doesn't have to get into a car and can just walk. You're close to a high concentration of people where they can just walk to you. You can that real estate's worth more, and you can charge more. But once you lower the cost of that access or that transportation, then what does that do? Does that change the whole formula of things? That's the question. I don't know. I don't think it does, but he seems to think it does. But look, he's, I think, way smarter than I am, so I'll go with what he says. Here's another quote. AI is like suddenly giving everyone in your company a great assistant. Like all assistants, sometimes it hallucinates. So that was a funny one. So he believes that AI plus robotics will be transformative. And here's another quote. So the price of mobility is going way, way down due to autonomous vehicles. The cost of going from here to there is going down with Waymo, etc. It will impact our shopping centers in figuring out where Main and Main really is, since you lose the proximity bonus you got from being right next to the residential, but you pick up development land. Another quote. So I think that was a great quote. Another quote by Sandy Sigal would be that there may be more retail development in 10 years. We haven't changed how we constructed in 100 years. Now we can print buildings, print walls. Robotics and tech will definitely improve that. The counter to that is that the center will be more curated in the future due to having the sentiment data. So I thought that was a really sophisticated way of looking at retail for the future. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, maybe comment. It'd really help out. I'm a starter channel. I think I only have a couple hundred subscribers, so trying to spread the word. Also, if you have any topics that you would want to hear, comment below, let me know, and I can dive into it. A little bit about me. My name's Chen. I have been in the commercial real estate industry for 25 years. I started in the year 2000, and I have been entirely in the retail shopping center industry for those 25 years. I currently work at Saglo Companies as president of the company, and we own and operate 25 shopping centers, 2.5 million square feet across Florida, Georgia, and Maryland. Talk to you later.